Good morning and welcome. I hope you're having a good morning. Hope you have a delightful beverage of your choice. My beverage of choice today is spearmint tea. I had an amazing peanut butter mocha at a local restaurant called Sarah's Table here in Duluth. It was delicious. So have my caffeine fix. Now we'll get to the herbal stuff. Anyway, speaking of food, we're going to be watching a video all about pizza. So sit back, relax, and if you're a fan of pizza as much as I am, and especially was in the early part of my life, pizza could have been my mainstay diet. I would have been okay with that. You will probably appreciate this. So enjoy. So a friend sent me a video about pizza, and I believe this is like about Pizza Hut specifically, and I don't quite know. But anyway, most people love pizza. Pizza's fun. I have a lot of memories about pizza. So, let's watch.
Pizza Hut is what I would consider an iconic American brand. Thinking back, they were kind of like the perfect family restaurant. Honestly, how many of you watching this have these great memories of eating there with your family? Maybe you had your birthday party there, or maybe you participated in their Book It reading program where you earned one of those colorful pins, or my favorite, a personal pan pizza.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about the Book It program. My relative of mine did that, and oh my god, yes, birthday parties. This is where we all went for birthday parties. I have a sister her birthday is close to mine, and so ours often got combined. But this was like where the parents took everybody because it was reasonably affordable to take a big old family there.
It would sure take a lot to get that pizza, but it was on another level. I'm sure that many of us have similar memories involving Pizza Hut, which is why it's upsetting to see them like this. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that they are in any immediate danger of shutting down. Pizza Hut is still pretty stable, and I'm guessing that they are going to be with us for quite a while. But I do have strong evidence to suggest that Pizza Hut has seen better days. In 2019, they announced that they would be closing 500 of their 7,500 US locations over the next 2 years. It's part of their long-term plan that involves closing underperforming restaurants and replacing them. I'll touch more on it later, but for the time being, that is a significant downsizing. In fact, the president of the company, along with other top executives, have expressed that they haven't been happy with Pizza Hut's overall performance. Looking at their sales over the past few years, they have actually been fairly consistent, which may not seem like much of an issue, but it is concerning. See, when we compare that to Dominoes, I think we start to see the problem. When they say that no one out-pizzas the Huts, I don't exactly know what that means, but it might not be true anymore. In the 1970s and even well into the 1980s, anyone who was around at the time can tell you that Pizza Hut used to be the national pizza chain. They were a national pizza chain before there were national pizza chains. People had to make the choice of either going to the local regional place or to Pizza Hut. Any other popular chain that you can think of today was not a factor on a national scale until at least the 1980s.
That is very interesting. I had a sister who worked at the Pizza Hut. We lived in a small town for a period of time, and we would occasionally walk there. And I just remember her coming home and her coat smelling like taco pizza, and it smelled like that forever. But it was so much fun because, pizza was my favorite food as a kid. Like if I had a choice about anything, it was pretty much go to Pizza Hut. And then I had one sister who was slightly annoyed with the always going to Pizza Hut, so she tried to change it up occasionally, make us go to Godfather's, which I actually grew to love Godfather's quite a bit. And then they had that dessert pizza, and that was delish. So that kind of won me over. Yeah. Anyway, yes, Pizza Hut definitely one of those places I spent a lot of time at as a kid for various reasons. But really, we didn't go out in my family. We didn't go out to eat very much, so it really was about birthdays for us, and then rare occasions. I'm curious if they talk about it in here. I'm guessing that they won't. But does anybody remember the Priazzo? I'm trying to remember what the Priazzo's thing was. I think the Priazzo was had a bottom layer, and then it had a bunch of food inside, and then it had another crust layer on the top. And I remember asking a waitress, and this is years and years ago, but it was definitely after the Priazzo. I was at a Pizza Hut, and I made some comment about a Priazzo. And she's like, we've never had that. And I'm like, no, you did years ago, like before you worked here. And she's like, we've never had that. I'm like, well, whatever. You did. I got pictures.
Then, over those next few decades, things got more competitive. Some of those smaller chains started closing the gap, but Pizza Hut still remained on top. That is, until 2018. As we saw in the graph, Dominoes took over that number one spot, and over the next few years have only extended that lead.
I'm so curious about that. Why is Domino's easier? Is it the model that, or why is Domino's more popular? Is it the model that they're just so used to delivery, like it's just kind of where you think of? It's honestly, and I don't eat pizza like I used to, and I've spent a good share of time being gluten-free, which kind of X'd me out of a lot of places. For sure, and I'm giving on that a little bit to enjoy pizza occasionally. But when I think of delivering pizza, I don't so much think of Pizza Hut. I think of Domino's. But if I think of going to have pizza, I think of new places now. Just like where I am, there's a place called Pizza Luce, and that's more bougie pizza, but it's tasty. It's really good. Well, my experience with Pizza Hut when I was discovering gluten was an issue. If I had a pizza from Pizza Hut, especially the thick crust, which is just so good, I was so exhausted. I'm probably between the gluten and the sugar and the crust, I just was like down for the count, and even a Caribou large coffee wouldn't do the trick. And that was a consistent thing that happened to me. It wasn't like it happened once, it happened a lot. So that's probably for me kind of gone, but I love a well-made deep dish pizza, right? Like that's one of those, if I could only have, 5 meals in my life, I want a well-made. And that's the thing, it has to be well-made. Pan pizza, pepperoni, pineapple, green olive, in case you're interested.
And then finally, what about the logo change? Through most of their dominant years throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, this was their logo. Then, in 1999, they changed it. They added more colors and slanted everything.
Made me sad, actually, when they changed the logo.
But then, 20 years later, in 2019, they went back to that old logo. According to their chief brand officer at the time, embracing our iconic Pizza Hut logo is recognition of a time period where Pizza Hut unequivocally reigned supreme, because that's where the future is headed. I take that to mean that the old logo represents a better time for Pizza Hut, and that bringing it back will remind the customers of those better times. I hope that we can at least agree that Pizza Hut has indeed seen better times. The very first Pizza Hut opened in Wichita, Kansas in 1958, and it could not have been more modest in the beginning. It was two brothers named Frank and Dan Carney. They borrowed $600 from their mom and used it to buy used equipment and rent out a small building not too far from a university. I thought it was interesting that they called their first restaurant Pizza Hut, mostly because they obtained this sign that had only enough room for so many letters. Of course they wanted to use the word pizza, so that meant that their second word can only be 3 letters. They eventually settled on the word hut, and
that is fascinating.
That was the beginning of the brand. If they had a bigger sign, things may have gone much differently. Early on, they valued quality pizza, good service, and believed in it so much that on their opening night, they gave away their pizzas to try to attract a customer base. It was an effective promotion, the restaurant did well, and after about a year, they were able to convince a friend of theirs to operate the first franchise location in Topeka, Kansas. It's also worth mentioning that part of their marketing early on involved this, stereotypical mascot named Pizza Pete. I believe that it was meant to double as a fun cartoon for the kids while promoting the Italian authenticity of their food.
It's funny when I see Pizza Huts that are not like the traditional Pizza Hut with the roof, the hutty looking place. It kind of messes with my head.
Now, when looking at the reasons behind the trouble happening at Pizza Hut, I think most of it can be explained by 2 main issues. The first one being a lack of catchy menu items, and I realize that this might sound so trivial when you first hear it, but let me explain. Today, seemingly every fast food restaurant has a never-ending sequence of new items that are pumpkin-flavored or Cheeto-flavored or whatever, but Pizza Hut was somewhat of a pioneer at this, to a point where I would even say that these catchy, innovative menu items were once a major part of their success. A couple of examples of what I would consider to be more gimmicky ones would be the Edge, with toppings way closer to the edge of the pizza than they should be, or the Big New Yorker, both introduced in the late 1990s. They sold pretty well and kept people coming back to Pizza Hut, but then there's other examples of new menu items that they introduced that I would truly call innovative. Some examples there would be in 1980 when they came out with the pan pizza, or in 1995 when they came out with the stuffed crust pizza, famously promoted.
I think the Priazzo was in the middle of them. Just If I could find out what year my sisters went to the Prince concert, we ordered a Piazza that night. And oh my God, I can't believe that I do remember the Donald Trump being the person doing the person in the Pizza Hut commercials. My goodness, this is wild.
Overall, this suggests to me that Pizza Hut is not quite what they used to be in introducing new menu items that appeal to their customers. I'm just saying that the Bigfoot pizza was a little more successful than the cockadoodle bacon. That's a weird sentence. The second part of their troubles, I believe, it can be attributed to being slow to delivery. And I don't mean taking over 30 minutes to deliver a pizza so then it's too cold. I mean taking too long to make pizza delivery in general a major part of their business.
Oh, maybe that's the habit of my thinking.
Here's what I mean. Historically, pizza is like the most common thing to have delivered, right? I mean, now more than ever, but it's been happening for a while. Before 2020, before online shopping, before any of it, people were having pizzas delivered. However, Pizza Hut was once famous for their family-friendly, sit-down restaurants. In the beginning of this video, when you were thinking back to those memories of birthday parties and personal pan pizzas, which is another Pizza Hut innovation, by the way, they took place inside of a Pizza Hut, not at home eating pizza delivered by Pizza Hut. It was like an event. It was an outing. It was not just about the food. In fact, they didn't even offer pizza delivery at a large scale until 1986, and the only reason they did it then was because Dominoes had been so successful with it. You might even say that Pizza Hut's lack of delivery during those times is a big reason that Dominoes was even able to get their foot in the door in the first place. So to summarize all of this, Pizza Hut is a very different place than it used to be. They've been around for long enough to have the world change around them. Parts of what made them popular before are no longer relevant, and they've been forced to adapt to those changes. Whereas some of their competitors, like Domino's or Little Caesars, first grew in that new environment.
Oh, remember when Little Caesars... Okay, this is going to sound horrible, but I'm sorry. I stand behind my word from my personal experience. Remember when Little Caesars was good? Little Caesars used to be my absolute favorite pizza. Like, Pizza Hut still had its own flair, but for cheap, quote unquote, inexpensive pizza, I loved Little Caesars, and their breadsticks were amazing. And oh my God, and then they were like all gone. And then I remember being with someone and driving and being like, oh my gosh, so excited. We planned our trip home around them, and it was so disappointing. Oh, it's such a bummer when places change, because they were, I don't know, I'd love to know what they changed. Like, it just still makes me sad. Like, I don't even think twice about them anymore. Where I used to, that was like, oh, good, had to know about that. And where I live, we've just recently had the Pizza Ranch, and I haven't really had the Pizza Ranch pizza, but very little. And the first time I had Pizza Ranch was in a little town in Iowa, and we used to have our family reunions there, and that was where I grew to love the Pizza Ranch. And then we'd have like this back room, and they'd have this buffet and chicken and all this stuff, and the food was fantastic. I loved their pizza, and the very little experience I've had since then hasn't been as, like, it's not how I remember it being. And it always is interesting to me to see how when pizza places, food places in general, I guess I should say food places in general, because I don't really know pizza places. So sometimes when they get bigger, places change. It seems like their food changes somehow, or something about them changes when they grow. I don't know if that's fully true or not. It just feels like it's a little bit true, at least.
It's kind of like Pizza Hut is the older generation struggling to fit in with the new one. Some of their attempts to do it do seem to be a little slow or potentially misguided, but they are attempts. They know where they need to go, they just don't know exactly how to get there, which gives me confidence that they will eventually make progress in the right direction. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about Pizza Hut? How have they changed over the years, and how has your perception of them changed? Do you even like their pizzas, or do you prefer one of their competitors?
Yeah, a lot of my life as a younger person revolved around pizza. It was definitely my favorite food. I remember we had to write a short paper on what food would you have if you could only have one food the rest of your life. What would it be? And I said pizza, because it gave me all these options. Although what's funny is at that point in time, I pretty much only ate pepperoni pineapple, or pepperoni pineapple green olive, or pepperoni green olive. Like, that was my go-tos. And I didn't like sausage, and I didn't like Canadian bacon, and I didn't like vegetable. And I've learned to like a lot more pizza than I did back then. But back then I would have had to have learned to grow with pizzas. And I don't know, maybe that's what I thought. right? Like, hey, here's this all these opportunities, and you're gonna get bored, so you might as well. You got a lot to work with here, right? And didn't maybe even ahead of my time of what was possible to put on a pizza, because I don't think I had ever seen any sort of like chicken pizza or anything like that. It's fun to see the all of the sort of shifts and changes around the Pizza Hut, and kind of a bummer. But like I say, when I think about it, if I'm eating cheap pizza, it used to be Little Caesars and Dominoes. You know, when my parents would get Sunday evening, we would sit usually and sometimes watch TV and sometimes not, but we'd get pizza from Domino's that we had delivered. And I don't know if we didn't get Pizza Hut. We were honestly probably got Domino's because they were less expensive. You just got more money or more food for your money. So I'm sure that that would have driven our family at that point in time. And then we had leftovers, and so I had school lunch. So I ate a lot of pizza in my high school years. Probably not such a great thing, but tasty. And now it's just kind of wild. Like I remember there was a place called what is it called? We Make You Bake in our area, and we would occasionally go get a pizza from there and bring it home, kind of like the Papa Murphy's of today. I don't think We Make You Bake was a I was funny because I remember as a kid sitting and thinking about the words "we make you bake," and I was like, do they mean we make it and you bake it, or do they mean we make you bake the pizza? And I thought that was interesting. I'm sure it was we make it, you bake it. But yeah, so I love pizza. I still think it's one of my favorite foods, but it's not as much as it used to be. Probably because I've varied my diet to many more things to love. But I do love me a good pizza, and it is something about that freshness, that quality, that it's like if it's sucky pizza, yeah, I don't really have time for it anymore. But oh my gosh, when they nail it, it's good stuff. And the expansion of things like gluten-free pizza, which is pretty much then where I went to, for a long time and kind of still do, as to what places have gluten-free. I believe Papa Murphy's now has gluten-free. I had an event the other night, and there was, I believe it was from Papa Murphy's, that was a really good gluten-free crust. I was very, very impressed. Very tasty pizzas. So anyway, yeah, who is your favorite pizza? What is your favorite gluten-free pizza? I understand that I believe it's in Chicago. There is a place that a friend of mine has gone to that has a deep dish gluten-free pizza, which I am very excited to try because I do love me some deep dish. There's just something about the thickness and the warmth, and it just feels like home. I was never a stuffed crust person. Like I had some that I liked, but often I just felt like it was taking up space that didn't need to happen. I remember having some that I loved and some that I didn't like so much, and I don't know if it was just a preference at the time or if there was something different about the individual pizza that I didn't love. But that was not a thing that I went for. It sounded really good, and I remember being excited about it, and then I had it, and I was like, yeah, this I don't need. So anyway, fun stuff. Love to hear about your pizza memories, because pizza is a pretty fun food. And I'm trying to remember when I lived in India, they had pizza there that was very Indian flavored, Indian spice specific. That was also really yummy. So anyway, I'm curious about what like there's just so much more creative things that people are putting on pizzas, and I'm much more willing to try anything now, which I am grateful for. Oh my gosh, watching some of those pictures with the delightful pan pizza, ooey gooey, yummy cheese. Anyway, I'm glad that I'm still full from breakfast. All right. Or that would be a very, very hard, mouth-watering thing to watch. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. Love to hear your feedback below. We're kind of all over the board on this channel. Fun stuff, thoughtful stuff, whatever. So look around and see if there's other fun things you might enjoy watching if you're new. So have a great day. Take good care. Bye-bye.